realize this is a terrible time to do it. Fine. That's hello, hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why we're quiet, but I can fix that. Yo. Yeah. That's a some things will never make sense, man. And that is how I put the dials in the same place every time. Hello. That makes no sense. Hello? Hello? Yo, yo, yo. I don't. Cool. Do it. Turn it weird. Hello? It just like doesn't matter. Well, okay, maybe I'm just not. Nah, you were talking pretty well. That's what I thought. Podcast. The audio is being wacky right now, so while we get that figured out, I'm just gonna talk because I literally I don't know if it picked up our intro song. I don't even know if it picked up the start of our introduction. So I'm going to restart. What is up, team, and welcome back to the Technical Fowl podcast. You're joined just by me and JP for now. When we do our second show of the evening, weekly preview. Oof, we sound good on that end anyway. Yeah, when we do our second show of the evening, our weekly preview of college football and NFL, Sanders will be back. But it's just me and JP here on a rare Monday show to recap what just happened in the NFL over the past weekend. Sans, I guess, the 49ers-Panthers game that is happening right now.
It is happening.
Or we'll start in 15 minutes. Can't say I'm too intrigued or enthralled by that game. I don't think there's going to be like tons of major ramifications from that game. If Carolina wins,
things get really interesting. But if Carolina loses, nothing really changes, and nothing of that game will impact my feelings towards that team in Pyramid coming up.
Yeah.
And maybe that team going forward. It would be an impressive win against the 49ers, and just an impressive win to win it on prime time on the road. But I will be able to make excuses, I think, unless they play a perfect game, as to why I still don't believe in them going forward. Vegas doesn't believe in them.
Spread 7.5.
They're spread 7.5 coming into this game. For reference, the model disagrees. The model thinks Carolina should be just a 4.5 point dog.
Sure.
And so Carolina is actually a best bet. So we do want them to cover, but not win. But Vegas still doesn't believe them coming into this game. Tampa Bay, even with Baker and his potential left shoulder injury, is a -380 favorite to win the division.
Yeah.
And Carolina has the chance to have one more win than them this weekend. Then Carolina will play next week and then have the latest bye of the season in week 13, or week 14.
Yeah, I mean, they still have to play twice, so that's kind of one reason I thought the Buccaneers still have such an odds advantage.
Absolutely.
It's because Vegas just expects them to beat Carolina twice, and so it doesn't really matter. The game does have pretty big fantasy ramifications for me, as I'm up 10 going against someone that has Brock Purdy, and I have Bryce Young and Ted. So you say, oh, you're probably safe. Well, we've seen some Bryce Young, like 4-point sinkers. And then since I also have Ted, all my eggs are in one basket. So I need them to perform at least somewhat well to overcome the Jahmyr Gibbs 55-point bomb.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty impressive. Now, why don't we get rolling into this, though? Your biggest takeaway from the weekend, or your favorite moment from the weekend?
Let me throw that guy up there. I'll mention him because I don't know if you were going to mention him, but I think the biggest one is just famous Jameis.
Oh, yeah.
And that 1 o'clock window was absolutely terrific. There's no other way to put it. For one, that game was terrific. There's over 1,000 total yards in that game between the two teams. Jameis had a flea flicker touchdown, which I don't know how he even got the pass off, and then still found Wandell down the middle. And then he had a receiving touchdown, or it wasn't like a walk-in touchdown. And I'd argue it was even more impressive than Bo Nix's receiving touchdown last year, where he climbed the ladder on a little Philly special. It was a 25-yard pass downfield where he has to adjust to the ball, comes back to it because it was underthrown, and then breaks a tackle inside the 10 and scores. That being said, it was still a Jameis game. He had 50% completion percentage and an interception. Yeah. And the Giants ended up losing and fired the defensive coordinator, which makes sense after you give up just under 500 total yards.
I mean, I saw someone say they're on pace to have a historically bad run defense in terms of yards per carry allowed, which is crazy considering some of the bodies they have on the defensive line. Like that it's insane that's the case. But it's just so funny to get to watch Jameis play football. And you're right, it was the perfect Jameis experience in terms of they didn't even win the game. But they were just highlight plays all around because on the other side of the ball, Jahmyr Gibbs rushes for over 200 yards. Multiple explosive plays, kind of what you expect from Jahmyr Gibbs, and then talking about how bad that Giants' run defense has been. It was just a match made in heaven for him and the Lions. And the Lions had to fight back. They were down double digits in this game.
17-7 at one point. Then also 27-24, they ended up having to drive down the field to tie it because New York decides to go for it with goal to go instead of kicking the field goal to go up 30-24. But in that moment, with the amount of total yards you're giving up, you kind of expect Detroit to have to drive the field. New York doesn't convert, then Detroit does drive the field. They get into overtime. They get the ball first, and the first play is a Jahmyr Gibbs handoff, and he goes 75 yards for a touchdown. Jameis, you got to give him credit. He fought to get back down the field. He got in the Lions territory, but they couldn't get it done. And sadly, for my New Orleans Saints, the Giants lose another game and falls to 10. But for Detroit, you almost bring up more questions of them going forward. I'll reflect that in the pyramid. Defensively, even with they've had injuries this year. They've had a ton of them, especially in the secondary, like they did last year. Last year was more on the defensive line, but this year it's been the secondary with Terry Arnold and others, and they are not holding up defensively in a ton of big games. And if their offense isn't clicking, it's kind of over for them. They're not out of danger of missing the postseason altogether. Nothing is locked up in the NFC, and especially not for Detroit. They got teams that are nipping right at the butt. 3 of them, to be exact, and the 6-5 Bucks and Panthers. Panthers could potentially be 7-5 right behind them, and the 5-1 Dallas Cowboys.
Who would have thought?
All of that being said, the Lions aren't even in the postseason right now. They still are behind the San Francisco 49ers and the Packers. So even with the win, they'll be cheering for Carolina tonight, but that'll bring 2 teams that are right there at 7-5 right behind them. Nothing is guaranteed for this team, and you certainly don't want to be going on the road in the postseason, given how you've handled cold weather games with Jared Goff.
Yeah, not his forte.
They've got to get it together defensively to really have a chance going forward. You hope to see them in the postseason because they're electric, especially offensively. But it's not like they're going to have an easy route going home either. They still have to play the Packers. They have to play the Cowboys, the Rams. At this point, the best team in the NFL. Pittsburgh, who's going to be fighting for a postseason spot. And then 2 divisional games on the road to end the year, Vikings and Bears. So nothing's guaranteed there. Questions in Detroit. And it feels like it was something I talked about coming into the year. Did they miss their championship window? They may miss the postseason this year, which would be shocking.
Yeah. This time I skipped on that. I mean, the next week game against Packers, which we're going to preview later tonight, is just crucial.
Thanksgiving Day, and then they will play the Dallas Cowboys the following week. And that's a huge one because of head-to-head with Dallas right behind them. Just 1 loss more than Detroit. A ton of pressure is going to be on that franchise going forward, and maybe moves will have to be made. I don't think anything drastic, but it may end up being the second to last year of Jared Goff in Detroit. That seems like the most reasonable move at this point.
I agree.
Is to go somewhere else with the quarterback position because he hasn't gotten you over the hump, and he is kind of the limiting factor. But regardless, it was a really, really entertaining game, and you may even argue it wasn't the most entertaining game of that 1 o'clock window.
It was a good one.
It was special.
It was a great 1 o'clock window. Other highlights, probably not a highlight for most people, but we have a good friend who's a Michigan fan and therefore a J.J. McCarthy fan, and who week after week still trots him out there to start in fantasy. So it's just fun watching Nine melt down on the field with him every week. And he was especially terrible yet again. Multiple picks, not a good completion percentage, just is not seeing the game well at all. And even when he's seeing it well, he can't make the throws. And now he's in historically bad starting QB territory. Down there with Jamarcus Russell, even in some stats, which is not a place you want to be. I mean, Green Bay handles business, but not like there was really anything else. They didn't really have to handle it. 9 was just like, here you go, I got you.
Yeah, 9 couldn't get to 9 points.
Yeah.
That'll pretty much hold you back.
The 9-5 meme you sent, I thought was pretty good.
Yes, that was a hilarious tweet. The Vikings had 145 total yards, which just can't happen in a Kevin O'Connell offense when you have Justin Jefferson available. You have all your backs available, Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. You have Jordan Addison. You have T.J. Hawkinson. I get it. The Packers defense is really, really good, but with the quarterback play being so poor, they are in a terrible spot, and so you can't move the ball offensively against a divisional opponent. And Green Bay is allowed to have a mediocre day offensively and still win. Uh, Viking season's pretty much over at this point. I think they give JJ another year. I know I've defended him like week after week. Said, okay, he's young, he's getting there, give him more time. But at the same time, there have been quarterbacks that have shown us more in 7 games than what JJ and 9 have shown us.
Whoever's out there at any given moment. Well, he entered concussion protocol today. So I'm interested to see if he starts this upcoming weekend. And if it's not him, Max Brosmer would be slated to start. Undrafted rookie Max Brosmer from Minnesota.
Could they not pick up a free agent, I guess?
I guess not, man. I mean, maybe they just want to see what they have here with Max Brosmer, or maybe 9 will be out of concussion protocol by game time. But it's pretty bad there. Trying to look around at other results.
I mean, there were three overtime games, which is really, really special, and there were 3 critical ones. The Giants-Lions we already talked about. Chiefs-Colts we'll get into in a little bit, but Jaguars-Cardinals comes down to the stretch. Cardinals, they're not on the pyramid, and they're in the graveyard, so I don't get to give a long-winded speech about
their chance.
But now is my chance, and they lost the turnover battle. They won the turnover battle 4-0 in this game. They had 7 more first downs than the Jacksonville Jaguars. They had 15 more plays on 2 less drives than the Jacksonville Jaguars. They outthrow Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence throws 3 picks in this game, and yet it doesn't matter. Arizona somehow ties this game, goes to overtime, but loses a game in which they lost the turnover battle 4-0. It's just truly remarkable. It is another 1-score loss for Arizona. If I'm not mistaken, it is their 5th loss this year of 4 or less points.
Remarkable.
Absolutely, not even 1 score, like 4 or less points.
Yeah.
Nearly a field goal is the difference in essentially every game that they play this year. Jacoby put up numbers statistically again, but they couldn't get anything going on the ground. And they somehow lose a game in overtime at home to the Jaguars. Jaguars escape once again out on the West Coast like they did against Las Vegas, also in overtime. And Jacksonville continues to maintain that 1-game lead on Kansas City, which means it's a 2-game lead because of the head-to-head that they have. And it almost feels like for them it would just be a failure to not make the postseason at this point, especially when you have those head-to-head advantages. They've split the series with Houston, so even Houston's sitting right behind them, 6-5 isn't a worry, and they still have 2 games against the Titans and a game against the Jets left. If they can split the series with the Colts, it's almost a lock for Trevor to somehow make the postseason in a year. You would argue they've played really, really poorly, but credit to Arizona for allowing Jacksonville to win this game somehow. And the third of the 3 overtime games yesterday. Yesterday, it really proved a great theory for me and a theory going forward on the pyramid. I figured out how to bet the teams that have been in the graveyard.
Massive.
For about 5 or so weeks, I've had a tremendous problem in deciding how to value statistically put a data point on a team that's in the graveyard versus a team that's been in the pyramid. For instance, the teams that have been on the pyramid, it's been 58 and 58. It's been 50%. It's been even so far this year. Carolina can change that and get us 1 game above 500 if they were to cover tonight. But this is going to be the way going forward, and these are the stats so far. For graveyard teams, this is my theory. Graveyard versus a non-graveyard team. Doesn't matter when they join the graveyard, how low or high on the pyramid the team is, because the spread will work itself out there. Our theory here for the Pucylowski pyramid is to take the graveyard team plus the points. Why? You would think it's kind of counterintuitive. Graveyard teams means they're terrible. You would pick the teams that are still in the pyramid to somehow cover and blow out these graveyard teams. But it's the NFL. It's an any given Sunday league. And this weekend really kind of proved that true, as graveyard teams were 4-1 against the spread. Against non-graveyard teams this weekend, we are 15-10-1 overall. If we were to have bet that, and that will be being bet going forward. And then the other theory is graveyard versus graveyard teams. One way to potentially think about it is when the teams enter the graveyard, but sometimes teams enter the graveyard at the same time. And so I'm going to go apply this same theory and say that even if a team has been in the graveyard for so long, like the New York Jets and the soon to be in there Minnesota Vikings, not this week, more than likely next week, we're going to take the underdog in those games, plus the points as well. That's 4-1 against the spread. So we figured ourselves out there. If you combine those, we are a positive 8 games so far on the season for the pyramid, which would get you around 54%, which is exactly what you want in a model to make money going forward. So we figured that out. That is the theory on graveyard teams in the pyramid going forward.
Good stuff. I'm excited to see if it continues to hold true as you're still kind of feeling all the pyramid stuff out. Other games, other takeaways, the Patriots win 26-20 against the Bengals. Not necessarily their best performance. Kind of the biggest takeaway for me / like, I guess, thing I was interested in is, okay, Ramondre Stevenson's back. What's the carry distribution? He has 6 carries for 5 yards. Travion has 18 carries for 66 yards. So not like either of them really did great, but Travion, at least this week, was the featured back. It wasn't even like they split carries. It was clearly him. So I'm interested to see if that holds true or not down the line. I wish he had a bit of a better day, because if he had a great day as the featured back, I think it would have been his. But it is what it is. They get the win. This is probably the last we see of Joe Flacco as the Bengals starter. I expect Burrow to start on Thanksgiving.
He is going.
He is going to start. Okay.
On Thursday night against the Ravens. Ramondre had a carry on the goal line on a 4th and goal, and they couldn't convert it against that Bengals front. The one thing to take from this game, the biggest one, is Will Campbell and the Patriots left guard as well, but more specifically, Will Campbell got hurt his knee. It looks like he's more than likely heading towards IR. Don't think he's going to miss the entire season, but they do think he's going to miss the next 4 weeks, which is something to monitor over the next 4 weeks. How that works out for Drake May and that offense in New England. It's not going to tank their season. Because they are the first team to reach 10 wins, they've created such a buffer that it would be really hard, especially given their schedule down the end of the season, to miss the postseason. Competing for the 1 seed might be in a little bit of question with that, in which they would, of course, love to be able to host every game in Foxborough this postseason with Drake May's first postseason appearance. But Will Campbell hurt. Huge thing to look at going forward.
Yeah, 100%.
For Drake May, who was really, really good. He throws the pick 6 early, and they responded from there. And New England is kind of learning on the fly. And it's helpful, it's more impactful to be in these kinds of games, even if the team is terrible, because you learn how to win, and you learn how to win down the stretch of games. They will play the Giants. They'll host the Giants on Monday Night Football. They'll have the last bye of the year in Week 14, and then it's at Bills, or it's at Ravens and then at Bills, back-to-back weeks, and they get to test how ready are they for a postseason run. But credit, it's 10 wins. You wouldn't have guessed that they would be the
9 in a row.
10 wins.
Now won 9 straight. So
yes, 9 straight games.
Insane that they lost to the Raiders.
Absolutely.
It just, with each week, that gets crazier and crazier. I do want to talk about the Thursday night game.
Sure.
Thursday night's not real football, but a massive win for the Texans, considering they were sitting at 5-5. Now they're at 6-5. A horrible start to the season, but now playoffs are kind of like there's a chance. It's looking up in that regard, and the defense just continues to be phenomenal. The edge rushers, the pass rush continues to be phenomenal. Gave Josh Allen fits all night, and then they have the secondary to match it. Just a very impressive unit, and Davis Mills has just been going out there and doing enough to lead the offense to get 20ish points a week, and it's enough to win with the defense.
Yeah, Josh Allen is sacked 8 times in this game for a total of 70 yards. He, of course, throws his 2 picks, which is another 2 turnover game. And all 4 losses, Josh Allen has turned the ball over twice so far this season. There have been people that have kind of argued, and I'm a little bit a part of that club last week of, well, the turnovers are fine if they're going to continue to score points like they are. But when you get into a game against the best defense in the league, statistically in Houston, it's really hard to score points. So turning the ball over is even more impactful on the end result of the game. And they could not afford to turn the ball over clearly in this game. And yet they do with 2 turnovers and a fumble loss by Khalil Shakir's 3 turnovers to this defense. And you give Davis Mills a chance on short fields. Houston's able to get just enough out of the ground game with Woody Marks, and they pull off a huge win. They get to 6-5. They are a game outside of the current playoff picture. They are ahead of Kansas City just barely, because they have a better win percentage in conference right now, 5-2 to Kansas City's 3-4. That's something to look at and monitor as well for Kansas City down the stretch. They will play. Yes, they will play Houston in 2 weeks.
Sure.
And so the head-to-head there is really, really impactful. That'll be on Sunday Night Football here in just 2 weeks. And that will really, that's the side.
Yeah.
Right now it's a huge story with Kansas City. Not to flip back to them again, but they don't have a head-to-head over the Chargers, who are the 5 seed and the first wild card team, the Jaguars, the 6 seed, the Bills, the 7 seed, and they will play Houston eventually, the 9 seed ahead of them. Those are 4 teams that you need to get in front of to make the postseason, and you don't have head-to-head wins yet over any of them. It's a potential thing to look at going forward.
100%.
For Houston, if CJ Stroud can just get healthy and they can find a little rhythm offensively, that defense is good enough to carry them to the postseason, of course, barring any injury to Danielle Hunter or Will Anderson, I think.
Yeah.
But they're going to be tested. They still play the Colts twice, who are a top 3 offense in the league, and then Kansas City on the road in KC. But it's a massive win. 5-6. It would be pretty much toast. And to win that game over Buffalo on the short week, it was a massive statement to the rest of the league that Houston's not done. Their season is not over yet, and they have a lot still to play for going forward.
Yeah, 100%. Anything you want to say as a Saints fan about the Saints Falcons game? Any major takeaways?
Battle of the way it was classified in my chat was the battle of coughing babies. It was both teams are so bad. It's another one of those games that someone has to win. The game between the 3-7 Falcons and 2-8 Saints at the time, and it just happened to be the Atlanta Falcons that won this, and I'm happy with it. Bijan was pretty much shut down offensively. Doesn't have a big day. Doesn't get in the end zone. Kirk Cousins, there's a terrible pick in this game. Tyler Shepard was fine. He completes 30 passes, I think that's a positive. If you're forced to throw that many times and you can still complete that X amount of passes, I think it helps. But he wasn't terrific, and the pass rush of Atlanta really showed.
Yeah.
They had 5 sacks on Tyler Shepard. And maybe that's your payoff for trading that first round pick, getting James Pierce, and then still having Jalen Walker. James Pierce has 1.5 sacks in this game. which ends up making the impact, but still you're 4-7, you still have first round pick. So they're still toast going forward. Penix may not play for a while, and Kirk is not great whatsoever. I'm really thankful they beat us, and I hope we continue to lose games going forward.
Yeah.
Tyler Shook didn't play all that bad, and he's going to continue to start. If he can pick up a win or two more, maybe you have a conversation for next year. But at this point, it feels like with the wins and losses, whatever happens, if we win, we want a skill position guy. If we lose, I think you want a quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the sentiment right now. Sadly, for our tanking purposes, Blake Griffey will not kick for us going forward. He misses 2 field goals in this game. And there's a point in the game when it's 16-7 and Tyler Shuck has the ball in the red zone. And it should be 16-13 because Blake Griffey has missed 2 field goals in the game. And so instead of driving to take the lead, you're driving to cut it to a 1-possession game. That can't happen.
Yeah, that's brutal.
There's also a bunch of discourse right now within the fan base because they really want Justin Tucker, but we're also trying out Cade York.
Yeah.
Funny enough, they have the same field goal percentage in 2024. And so there's not really a difference. Just the one difference is one guy has 16 sexual assault cases.
I saw someone in the quote classified it like he's got some things, or he has some things going on. It's like, yeah,
He
some
served a
things.
10-week suspension in the NFL,
Yeah.
which if you don't understand the context of, that's massive. 10 games.
It's about as much as you'll get in the NFL.
Absolutely. The only thing that's worse, of course, is the season, and that's only happened really. Like Calvin Ridley's the one that comes to mind. Where
Did Josh Gordon get a season?
If I'm not mistaken, he did as well. But like Rashee Rice was in a hit and run, and he got 6 games. 10 games is massive. Deshaun Watson, I forgot if it was either 6 or 8 games for his sexual assault allegations as well. So I personally, I loved Justin Tucker before I had that information, and I would be fine with Justin Tucker joining the team at that point.
Yeah.
But the way, football-wise, the way he kicked last year, I don't think he needs to be on the team.
Yeah, he's
going
going for
forward.
this moment for like you don't want it for multiple reasons. But yeah, that if you were not a Saints fan, I don't think I would have brought up that game at all.
Oh, you should.
Like another game that happened, and this is all I'm going to talk about. Baltimore beat the Jets on Sunday. Congrats. What I'd probably say maybe the biggest shocker of the day. You can disagree if you want, but Dallas beating Philadelphia, especially a shocker considering Philly getting out to that 21-0 start.
Yep.
And then we did not preview this game, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And then Dallas storms all the way back, scores 24 unanswered to win at home. Reignite their playoff hopes, kind of like the Texans. Huge week for the state of Texas in the NFL. But they win. Dak has a great day. George Pickens has just been phenomenal all season. The defensive line shuts down Saquon. Jalen Hurts is the leading rusher with 33 yards. The Quinnen Williams trade, they gave up a lot, but maybe that's going to make an impact, I will say. It's not like Philly's been running the ball well all season.
Yeah.
But Philly's final 8 drives, they didn't score on. Multiple punts. You force the fumble on special teams. Philly misses a field goal. And yeah, it's just a huge win.
Oh, yeah, Philly in their first 3 drives, 21 points, 187 total yards, 7.5 yards per play, and they were 4 for 5 on 3rd down. The rest of the game, which Shaq alluded to, 0 points, 152 total yards, 4.6 yards per play, and 1 for 7 on 3rd down. They choked a 21-0 lead against the Dallas Cowboys, who have no defense. They completely go passive as soon as they get the big lead, and they take their foot off the gas pedal. Saquon had, which this is again another nail in, at this point, nail in the coffin of it is not a Saquon problem. It has been an offensive line problem all year. Saquon might be a little tired and a little worn down with the carries he had and touches he had last year. But is this completely different compared to what last year was? And there haven't been a ton of changes on the offensive line, but there have been injuries. But for the most part, they've just been unsuccessful going from Kellen Moore, Saints legend, to their new offensive coordinator this year. Saquon had 5 yards before contact on Sunday.
Shout out Saquon, man. It sucks for him.
It's Ashton Genty numbers. It arguably worse because Genty has had back-to-back pretty good weeks for the Las Vegas Raiders. 10 carries for 22 yards for a guy that almost broke the rushing record last year it's inexplicable. It's unexcusable as well. You're able to get him the ball in the passing game, which is great, but you got to have more success in the running game with Saquon. You have to lean on him more. I don't care how bad it's going, which it was going bad. He only had 2.2 yards per carry, but you can't have just 10 carries for Saquon in a game where you're up 21-0. That's something that can't happen going forward. Philly, it's a game you really didn't want to lose because now the 1 seed race is going to be a little bit further out of your hands. You do have the head-to-head with Los Angeles, but right now they control their own destiny going forward for the 1 seed. You have a team like Chicago who has the same record as you at 8-3. And to lose to this Dallas defense that it has not been performing, now they performed for 2 weeks technically since Quentin Williams joined the team, but you can't not score another point the rest of the game. You can't not take a lot of time off the clock because Dallas, even as they started making their comeback, failed a few times. Philly fumbles a punt. It's goal the game for Dallas, and they can't score a single point. Dallas, Dak throws another pick in the red zone early on before Philly had gained that big 21-point lead. So stuff like this can't happen. And with the way your defense has been playing for the past few weeks, it's also kind of shocking that George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb kind of got whatever they wanted, especially George Pickens. Credit to Dallas. They've kept their season alive. They have 2 really critical games going forward in Kansas City on Thanksgiving, which we'll talk about in the next show. And then the biggest one is going to be the game against Detroit in Detroit because Detroit's the 8th seed.
Yeah.
That'll tell the head-to-head there. I was really happy because Dak won and the Cowboys are at least showing a pulse. And now it makes that Thanksgiving game really, really critical to both teams. And both teams are going to be playing with a ton of fire, a ton of confidence. Someone has predicted it, and it was someone on Twitter. I don't know who it was, so I won't give them credit. It's probably going to be the most watched Thanksgiving game of all time. Right now, the record is the Cowboys-Giants 3 years ago with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley against the Dak Prescott Cowboys team. I was driving to Oxford that day. That was the day State last won the Egg Bowl. Good omen.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
For State fans, but a huge win for Dallas. They're now 2-0 since Marshawn Eland's passing, and they played with a ton of emotion. It's their first home game since his passing. They played with that emotion. They're showing it, and who knows? Maybe they can make a run to make the postseason somehow. If they're in the postseason, they can beat anyone. Because with the way they play offense, they can score against anyone.
I mean, if we're going to follow historical trends, we're in for a Philly collapse, and Dallas somehow wins the division.
I'm fully aboard. Like, they're only 2 games behind them right now.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing you have to,
they split the tiebreakers.
They split the tiebreaker, which is huge. And because Dallas has tied a game, if let's say, for instance, they got
the tiebreaker probably doesn't matter.
10 wins or 11 wins, if they have the same amount of wins as Philly, which is really what tells the difference, they are better than Philly. They will have 11, 5-1 is a better record than 11-6, and so they would win the division or make the postseason over someone in the wild card with that. So that tie is going to end up benefiting them. Of course, they wish it was a win.
Sure.
And it nearly was if Green Bay doesn't tie it with seconds to go in overtime. But it will help them if they're able to get to the same amount of wins as Philly, which means they got to continue winning games. Dallas does, and that starts with Thursday on Thanksgiving. The Eagles still have a few losable games, but not a ton. They still play the Raiders and they play the Commanders for us. Sorry. They do play at Buffalo, at the Chargers, and a really critical one on Black Friday against the Bears in Philly. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities. And like Jack alluded to, historical trends would say we are due for Dallas to make the comeback. And I'm all here for it, personally. That would be amazing to see. I think the only thing right now going forward for Philly that is, I think they'll respond to this. They really want their offensive coordinator Pucylowski gone. NBC Philadelphia is saying it has to happen, and they were very imperative about that on their post-game show coverage of this game. I think the only thing that can really derail them though is if AJ Brown came out tomorrow or Wednesday. I'm surprised he didn't do it today and said I was right. Something like that. Like this offense does have problems. Even in a game where he has 8 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown, which means he wasn't right. Meaning, if he was getting the ball, if they didn't win the game, didn't make the difference, that could maybe derail the locker room. And then you have something similar to what we saw 2 years ago, where they were 10-1, and then faltered down the stretch, got into the wild card game, literally did not care in the postseason and lost to Tampa Bay. Yeah, if that doesn't happen, I think Philly's fine.
Sure.
And I think they'll be really dangerous in the postseason.
Yeah. Wrapping up the rest of the game, we didn't preview. Shout out Seattle. You went 30-24 against Tennessee. I didn't watch this game. Cam Ward throws for 256 yards. A lot of people are claiming it was his best game, or that they saw signs they needed to see in this game from him in terms of him being a legit starter. So shout out to him, I guess.
I claim that.
You claim that. Cool. I didn't tune in.
So I agree with that claim. I watched every snap of this game.
Perfect.
I thought Cam Ward really, really showed that he is kind of ready, up to the task for once against that not once. Against that Seattle defense, he's 28 for 42 for 256 and a touchdown. He also has 6 carries on the ground for 37 yards and a touchdown as well. And he was really, really good and really efficient against the Seattle defense, which I think is a huge statement. They had nothing on the ground. They had 27 rushing yards that weren't from Cam Ward in this game against that Seattle defense. Yet he's still able to move the ball. He leads some kind of comeback in the second half. He gets it to a point where it's onside kick. They recover. They have a chance to go win the game. And then there were just a few plays he made in critical moments of that is something that you like to see and you see out of the top quarterbacks in the AFC. There's one where he's rolling to his right on a critical third down in the second half, and he commits a cardinal sin in throwing across his body, but he throws across his body on the money, and he picks up 15 or 20 yards.
I didn't see that play.
There's a huge 4th and 4, 4th and 5 again in the second half. He finds no one open. He eludes the rush. He gets upfield, and he picks up the first down. He is making some critical plays. He's not the reason that they're losing all these games. He has no receiver helps. If you had to, I don't think you'd know it, but if you had to guess the leading receiver in this game,
was it Restrepo?
No.
Alec Amanor?
No. I'll give you a hint. You guys play him on Friday.
Play him on Friday.
And by you guys,
you're talking about A&M. So I'm trying to think of a Texas wide receiver. What Texas wide receiver do they have? You just didn't tell me.
Gunnar Helm.
Gunnar Helm. Okay, so
Gunnar Helm is their leading receiver.
Shout out Gunnar Helm.
6 catches for 51 yards and 7 targets in this game. Yeah, no receiver help. And which, look, he praised his receivers coming into the season, but they've got to make some kind of addition there. Maybe that is something they look at if they have the first overall pick. They trade it, get another first overall pick, and another 2nd rounder, and you can pick up a receiver or 2 in the draft. Or if you really like a guy like Jordan Tyson, maybe you find him. Like if Cam Ward wins a few games here down the stretch, maybe Jordan Tyson is that pick in that first round. But they desperately need receiver help.
100%.
They should be 0-11, by the way. Like that, and the Cardinals literally handed them a win this year. If you don't recall,
I recall.
they literally handed them a win this year, and that's their only win this year. Other than that, they've been in just three one-score games all year. Outside of that game, so they've been really, really uncompetitive. Maybe they'll get their win against Shedeur Sanders in 2 weeks in Cleveland, but Tennessee, Cam Ward, I thought showed enough. Seattle kept with the tune. They had a slow start to start the game, which I expected, given that it was a 1 p.m. kick, 10 a.m. body kick for Seattle. But they were able to respond in the second half. JSN goes off. He's already broken the record for receiving yards in a single year as a Seahawk. And we're in week 12. We just finished week 12. So another step in the right direction for Seattle after the setback last week. Speaking of, I think the last game we have to talk about is Shedeur Sanders.
100%. That's where I was going to land the plane. Big win for Cleveland, I guess. It's great to see Shedeur get a win in his first start. You have to be happy with that, as Cleveland's still trying to figure out what they're going to do at QB.
He's the first Browns quarterback to win their first career start since 1995.
There you go. It's not like historical because he wasn't the first to ever do it, but it feels pretty historical.
Fair.
That's probably there's probably 30 QBs to try and fail since 1995 or something insane like that. Shout out to him. It is the Raiders, but once again, a win's a win. Like you just said, no Browns QB has won their first start, regardless of who they're playing. And he looked pretty solid. He made some big time throws. And yeah, I mean, once again, they're not really playing for anything, but I think they're just happy to see a QB go out there and perform well, because it's pretty clear Dylan Gabriel's not the answer. You don't really know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. So you're just kind of having to try and figure it out and go from there. And then the defense was phenomenal again. Myles Garrett has 3 more sacks. He's on pace to break both the sacks record and the tackles for loss record.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know what the odds are. He's got to be the odds-on favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year.
I would imagine. I'm sure he's on MVP ballots as well.
Yeah, by a good margin. He's been amazing, and I love watching it as a Texas A&M fan. He's just been so good for so long, so shout out to him and the rest of the defense. It's a stacked defense.
Absolutely. On Shedeur, he has a terrible pick in this game. Throws it into bad coverage, and it's a free pick for Geno Smith and the Raiders. Geno doesn't make the pick, but the Raiders end up making it. Speaking of how good the defense was, Shedeur has 1 more completion than they have sacks in this game. 11 completions to 10 sacks. Really, the shining moment was the deep ball to Isaiah Bond that he rolls out. There's an incredible throw. His touchdown pass is a swing route to Dylan Sampson for 66 yards and a touchdown. But if Arch Manning and Texas fans are going to give Arch Manning credit for making those passes,
we're going to give Shedeur credit for that.
We'll give Shedeur credit as well. I love the way that they at least started the game, scoring 14 points in the first quarter in your first career start as a quarterback. That's a statement enough. But they did not be able to respond and put up more points against that Raiders offense. You might belittle him, but a win is a win is a win for Shedeur. He's done enough, I think, to get that job. You have to keep playing him so you can see what you have there with him.
They've announced he's a starter this upcoming week.
Yes, and he'll start this week against the 49ers, who are playing right now on Monday Night Football. And it'll be at home. Brock Purdy returns to Cleveland, where he lost really, really bad last year. And then he will play Cam Ward and the Titans in 2 weeks. And so maybe if they can pull off an upset against the 49ers, they are a 3-0 football team under Shedeur, and then a real conversation starts down the stretch of the season if he's good enough to be the quarterback going forward. He certainly thinks he is. After beating the 2-8 Raiders, he is immediately going to the press conference saying, imagine what it will look like when I get a full off season, when I get a full mini camp, a full summer camp with this program, when I am the starting quarterback. We'll see. You beat the Raiders. You had 11 completions.
I'm very happy for him, but at the same time, pump the brakes just a little bit.
Very much so.
I think that's a wise move from all parties involved. And speaking of the Monday Night Football game, before we get to our playoff pictures and predict how the the playoffs. We think the playoffs will play out if they had started today. 49ers up 7-0. Brock Purdy throws a pick that gives Carolina the ball in the red zone, and Bryce Young responds by throwing a pick in the end zone.
Oh, that's awesome.
So now the 49ers have the ball back and will look to drive and extend their lead.
I gotta throw this in the chat because it's hilarious. But Bryce Young is on pace right now for 12 passing yards.
Yeah, he currently has me negative 0.68 fantasy points, so I'm going to need him to step it up a little bit. Just a little bit, please. With that being said, though, we can go look to make up playoff fixtures.
Yes.
Which I'm going to see if I did this right.
Bro, no way.
What is happening?
I guess I'm pulling the wrong one. We're close. Very close.
Is that the right bracket?
Let us see.
It's got to be because Pittsburgh's not in it.
It's the right bracket. Yeah, this will work. The seating, I don't think will matter as much. For reference, if you're watching on YouTube, the seating from the left side, you were looking at the 4-5, then the 2-7, and the 3-6 matchup. So Chargers Ravens is 4-5. Bills Broncos Bills Broncos 2-7, and Jaguars Colts is 3-6. And it's the same way on the other side as well. But Jack, without further ado, if you'd like to start, you're welcome to pick your playoff bracket as of this moment.
And I will do so. First matchup, Chargers-Ravens, giving the Ravens all day. Terrible vibes around the Chargers, terrible offensive line. The defense is not playing as it was to start the season, and the Ravens are pretty hot right now. And Lamar Jackson's back. I think their defense has figured some things out. I think they would win that game pretty comfortably. They wouldn't have too much issue with the Chargers in that matchup. Bills, Broncos. I'm still on the Broncos are frauds train. Frauds in terms of, I think they're a playoff quality team because their defense is so good, but I don't think the offense is good enough to make any sort of noise in the postseason. Now I need Josh Allen to calm down with the turnovers because playing that Denver defense, that he could get a little scary. But give me the Bills to win that matchup, and then Jaguars Colts. I'm gonna take the Colts in that matchup. The Jaguars just don't make me feel safe. Like I don't feel safe. I don't trust it. They're not a team to trust. Trevor Lawrence. I mean, they just eked one out against the Cardinals where they lost the turnover battle 4-0. Liam Cohen looks pissed off at the sidelines on he can't believe what Trevor Lawrence is out there doing. So give me the Colts. And that would give me
Ravens, Colts, and you pick the Bills?
Yes.
Bills, Patriots.
Ravens, Colts. Bills, Patriots. I'm gonna take the Bills to beat the Patriots because I do think Will Campbell matters a lot. We've seen what the protection has meant to Drake May, and since we're doing it as if it starts today, Will Campbell wouldn't play. So I take the Bills to kind of get revenge from the earlier season loss to the Patriots. And then Colts, Ravens. I'm going to take the Ravens. Just trust Lamar. I think he can go score against that Colts team, and the defense can do enough. I'm not going to stop Jonathan Taylor, maybe slow him down enough, maybe get a couple Danny Dimes moments, and that gives us Bills, Ravens, which is kind of cool because you get the Lamar, Josh Allen, like one of them finally gets the Super Bowl, and I'm going to take the Ravens. I think the Ravens will make the Super Bowl, beat Josh Allen. I think they're just playing really well right now. I know they've played a couple weaker teams recently, but I think they've righted the ship.
Won 5 in a row.
Yeah, won 5 in a row, exactly. That gets us onto the NFC side. First matchup, Seahawks, Buccaneers. Give me the Seahawks. Baker's beat up right now. The rest of the team's beat up right now. They're just not playing very good football. and the Seahawks are. So I take the Seahawks pretty comfortably in that matchup. 49ers Eagles. Give me the Eagles. I know they just lost kind of a befuddling game where they were 21-0. But speaking of beat up, that's the 49ers right now. And I don't really trust Brock Purdy in the playoffs. And then that leaves the Packers Bears. I'm going to take the Packers in that matchup. The Bears would be the higher seed if it ended today, but I like the Packers defense a lot. And I think the Bears have got a little bit lucky. They're a good team. I don't know if they should be leading that division currently. A lot of 3-point wins, which credit to Caleb Williams. He's making plays when it matters. But at the same time, I'm not sure that team is really all that great. So that would give us.
The Packers would go to Los Angeles and Seattle would go to Philly.
Packers, Rams, give me Rams all day. I just gonna say, I think the Rams are the best team right now. We're playing the best football right now. They just demolished the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football, which we'll get into in a minute. So I take the Rams to win that game against the Packers, and then it would be Eagles, Seahawks, and I would take the Seahawks to win that game against the Eagles, and that gives us Rams, Seahawks, and I take the Rams. We just saw that matchup. The Rams won. Rams are playing phenomenal football right now. Matthew Stafford is on his way or trending to win his first MVP. If he keeps this level of play up, he's got 30 touchdowns and 2 interceptions on the season, which is phenomenal. So give me the Rams to make the Super Bowl and face the Ravens, and I would have the Rams winning that matchup.
Okay.
So I have Rams over Ravens in my Super Bowl after Week 12.
All right. Jack did not have a pick last week because he wasn't here for our NFL show. He is picking Rams over Ravens. Now he has picked the Rams, the Seahawks, the Colts, and the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. So 4 bases have been covered so far.
Based on what I'm hearing is, I can say I told you so for a lot of teams right now if they end up winning the Super Bowl.
Yes, absolutely. I am going to have the exact same picks for the first round on the AFC side. Give me Ravens over Chargers. Not an argument. Justin Herbert playoffs. Bills over Broncos. I think Josh Allen would do enough to score enough and beat that defense on the road. And then give me the Colts over the Jaguars. I think the Colts would respond offensively against that Jacksonville defense, especially if Trevor's going to turn the ball over. It's kind of bad news if you keep giving that offense more possessions, and they're at home. So that will be the Bills going to New England, which would be electric. Right now, with Will Campbell and his injury, give me Buffalo and Josh Allen to win that game over New England as well. And then give me the Colts over the Ravens. And that kind of a shocker, but I think with the way that they would respond to a Kansas City loss, I think they'd be ready offensively. I think they would run the ball better. And what's kind of going under the radar right now is the flip in the way Baltimore is playing football, and that their defense is playing a lot better, but their offense has been pretty bad. And outside of the Miami game, Lamar has been pretty bad offensively. Only a couple touchdowns since he's returned. So give me Indy to upset at home against the Baltimore Ravens. And that means Buffalo goes to Indianapolis for the AFC Championship, and give me Buffalo. Even after their loss to Houston, I think, again, I've said this week after week, I think they are a team of destiny and that they are due to make it to the Super Bowl. And I don't really care how it goes the rest of the way for the most part. I think if they're in the picture, Josh Allen's going to somehow do enough to get them to San Francisco for the Super Bowl. On the NFC side, give me Seattle over Tampa Bay. That game, I don't think would be really close. Let me see what the spread would even be. If Seattle went and played at Tampa Bay right now, I would have Seattle favored by 5.5 points. I would imagine odds makers would probably agree with that in Vegas. I'd take Seattle to win and cover that game as well, given the Baker stuff, and their defense has been really bad the last 3 or 4 weeks, especially the past 3 weeks with their 3 losses in a row against Buffalo, New England, and Los Angeles. They can't stop anybody. Give me Seattle. 49ers, Eagles, give me Philly in the postseason. Like I said earlier, if they're in the picture and in the postseason, I just trust them, and I trust Jalen Hurts. and that offense to do enough. And I think that defense in Philly against Brock Purdy, they'll do exactly what they did in the NFC Championship game last time. Of course, Brock Purdy had the elbow injury early, but even with, I think you'd have similar numbers against that Philly defense in the postseason. Packers Bears. This is one of those games where if Chicago were to win it, Los Angeles actually gets kind of pissed off, honestly, that this is the way that a bracket would work out, because Chicago would go to Philly and the Rams would end up having to play probably the best team available in Seattle. And that would really, really hinder them. I don't think that will happen, though, in this game. Give me Green Bay to upset the Bears in Chicago in a postseason game. You've rarely seen that matchup in the postseason, really, ever. And it would be amazing to see it this year. Give me Jordan Love and the Packers, and that means they go to Los Angeles. And give me the Rams right now as well. Then give me Philly over the Seattle Seahawks. I've had that matchup, I think, 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and I picked it the same way every time. Give me the Eagles. And then, shocker, give me the Eagles over the Rams. And it's the championship, and that means it's Bills, Eagles in the Super Bowl. And until I see something that really changes my mind, which even with the Bills and Eagles losing this week in devastating fashion, give me the Bills over the Eagles. Right. This just allows me, when that occurs, to have unbelievable stock be handed to me, dividends, you may call it. Give me Bills over the Eagles for now the 4th consecutive week. And that will do it for us picking the playoff picture. And now we can get into our main games. And we'll start with the first of the 1 o'clock games, Steelers Bears.
Yeah, Brock just threw his second pick of the game.
What a showing.
At least he threw it in the end zone this time, so he didn't give Bryce Young good field position. But I'm occasionally tabbing over and watching it. I think every time I do, a pick's been thrown, so I'm going to have to keep it up. Let me get on topic, though. The Steelers go to Chicago to face the Bears, and despite Aaron Rodgers coming onto the field pregame and running around and then apparently flipping the bird, just coming to the stadium in general, he does not play. So it's just Mason Rudolph, and that isn't really a huge issue. He actually moves the ball pretty well. They're fairly productive. He doesn't have a great day through the air, but he's at least efficient, 24 through 31. And then they get some run game success to help them out. Unfortunately, though, as the Bears do, unfortunately for the Steelers, that is, as the Bears do, they love to win a close game, and so they do it here. Pittsburgh can't close the deal, and they end up losing 28-31. And now that early season division lead for them is completely gone.
Yep, they're not even in the division lead anymore. The clutch Bears continue. This time it was with defensive stops. In the past, it's been game-winning drives. Cowboys had 5 of those this year. But this is the first one where they didn't end up needing a game-winning drive. Pittsburgh had 2 chances, down 3 to tie or take the lead in those 2 drives. They have 13 plays for 45 yards, a punt, and a turnover on downs. For Chicago, like Caleb Williams may never, I don't think he'll ever have a game with a good completion percentage.
Sure.
He just refuses to do that. He's a gunslinger, and he doesn't take very easy ones. He loves to take as much as he can get every single time. He's at 59% completion percentage, which is honestly kind of poor. But he's on pace for 3,969 yards through the air this year, which, if you don't know, is really critical. It's historic. Chicago, in their entire franchise history, has never had a 4,000-yard passer, and Caleb Williams just needs 31 more yards on top of his pace to get that. Of course, he'll have the added benefit of playing an extra game, so how much do you take from that? But still, Caleb is having a historic season from a Bears quarterback perspective, even with his really poor completion percentage. For the game itself, field position is really what ended up winning the day for Chicago. On their 5 scoring drives, their worst field position was their own 30-yard line. They never started with the ball in Pittsburgh territory, but they had the ball at the 36, the 40, the 44 and the 46, allowing them to not have to drive deep down the field, which ends up being the reason Pittsburgh outgains Chicago in this game. Now, Caleb makes a huge mistake early on in the first half. You never escape out of a pocket when your back is on the goal line. When you take the snap and you take your drop back and you are standing at the goal line, never escape back, and never do it when you're facing an elite pass rusher like TJ Watt. TJ reads it perfectly. He gets a strip sack. They recover it. They score a touchdown. And on that sack, TJ passes his brother, JJ Watt, all-time sacks, with JJ in the booth calling the game. Was a really special moment
100%.
for the Watts, just an elite pair of Wisconsin Badgers, but also guys getting after the quarterback. Have been with one franchise for pretty much their entire career. TJ with Houston, and then, or not TJ with Houston, JJ with Houston, and now TJ with Pittsburgh. But Chicago, you got to give them credit for responding. Montez Sweat, Mississippi State legend, forces a sack and then recovers it in this game. And don't look now, but the Chicago Bears are 8-3, tied with the Eagles for the second best record in the NFC after starting the season 0-2, and they are 6-1 in one-score games this year. 5-game winning drives for Caleb, and then the defensive stops in this one. Chicago, it would actually kind of take really bad to miss the postseason at this point, but the games are still out there in front of them. They have to play at Philly, at Green Bay again, at the 49ers, and then they host the Detroit Lions to end the season. They have one game in which I can confirm they would be favored against the Cleveland Browns. Outside of that, they might not be favored in a single game going forward this year. So while they're 8-3, they're not guaranteed to compete for that number one overall seed. But to be at this point is really a statement for year one with Ben Johnson. He's really in the conversation for Coach of the Year, I'd argue, which I hope he does because I bet on that in the preseason.
Fair.
But Chicago gets another huge one-score win. On the flip side, Pittsburgh, they're just in purgatory. It'll never end. And it's no surprise. They signed up for this when they added Aaron Rodgers in his final season as a quarterback as their quarterback. They got this because they refused to draft a quarterback in the draft when they had a chance to take Shedeur Sanders for multiple rounds. Not that Shedeur would work out, but they had a chance to take Jackson Dart at 21. They did not. New York ends up trading in, and they get Jackson Dart instead. And now you're going to go into this draft where you are looking at 9-8. You probably missed the postseason once again. You probably, like I said, you missed the playoffs. You're probably drafting in the 20s again, like at 21.
Yeah.
You're going to have to sign an older quarterback because I don't think you're going to get a competitive quarterback at 21 unless you want to go down the Kenny Pickett route again, he was the first quarterback taken to that draft, but he was taken to the 20s. Nothing is guaranteed there. So you're signing an older quarterback who's on a second or third team again. Wilson, Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers. Right now, my prediction is Kyler Murray for the Steelers quarterback next year, and that won't go well. They'll be 9-8. But this team is in just complete purgatory going forward, and they still got 2 games with the Ravens, meaning they can still win this division. But you feel for Steelers fans. I know our teams are bad at that, and we would love for our teams to be competitive right now. But I don't know if we would wish for this.
I wouldn't.
I don't think I would either.
I'm happy that when we choose to be bad, we really bad.
Yes.
I can appreciate that as Brock Purdy has thrown his 3rd pick of the evening.
Well, that's good.
So I want, Mac Jones, anyone?
Might have to make some changes to my appearance.
They're still winning.
Oh, okay.
So it's 7-0 still. No, I agree. It's the best spot for Pittsburgh to be. I do wonder with the way this is shaping up, if they lose some more games down the stretch and they're not picking 21, they're picking like in the teens.
Mhm.
If this is the year they trade up,
Yeah,
because the Titans are probably gonna have a really good draft pick. They're not really gonna be looking to take a quarterback. Um, there's a chance. I don't think it's not likely, but there's a chance the Saints decide to not go quarterback, or at least maybe they like. We kind of want to get a quarterback, but we aren't in love with any of these guys, and so if we can get this good of a package, like we can't say no.
Yep.
So there's a world where they could do it. It feels like if you're all the way back at 21, the odds of you trading up that far it just feels really, really. And then also this has kind of become a draft class where it's pretty deep.
Yeah.
A lot of guys have fallen off, but maybe you still believe in like a Garrett Nussmeier, or like even like you're like, hey, Drew Aller had a really bad senior season, but we like what he put on tape junior year, and so we're gonna take a swing on him in the second round. Like there's still options, but it almost kind of feels like there's a little bit of pride in the equation, and they're just gonna Joe Flacco, you got one more year in you, like
Yeah, Kyler Murray would be on that list. I think Joe Flacco could potentially be on that list. I think that would be crazy. Don't rule out like Russell Wilson again. I wouldn't rule out Jameis Winston as like a potential starter for them. Other ones, maybe you could still like start Kirk Cousins, I guess. But you'd have to trade for him out of Atlanta. Mac Jones seems like a really someone who really kind of makes sense.
I would actually like. I would not hate that.
Yeah.
Like I would be like, okay, I at least like it feels like you're trying to invest in something long term besides just stopgap. And
But they've tried that. I mean, they've tried that with other quarterbacks in the past, and since Ben Roethlisberger, it hasn't worked. The trading up, I think it makes sense. I'm sure Steelers fans might love for them to do it, but think of the organizations that trade up.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh doesn't fit in that
Agreed.
equation whatsoever. But I do like what you say that this draft class is going to be pretty deep, at least on paper. And so maybe, yeah, you could take a swing on a guy like Drew Aller for the second round. And I would hate it if he fits the profile that you want. Maybe you give him a chance. Um, I don't know if they're ever going to be okay with. It feels like they're never going to be okay with being in a spot where we start a rookie quarterback and we go through the troubles of a rookie quarterback and we are bad and we're undisciplined.
Well, that's you just said. They never want to be terrible.
Yeah.
And so therefore they don't want to start a rookie, and also therefore they don't ever want to end up in the top 5 of the draft to really take an elite prospect at QB, because it honestly, I think it's more important for them not to be bad than it is for them to truly be good.
Yeah.
And then as we kind of look to transition onto our next game, last question I'm going to ask about the Bears is how good do you think this team really is? The record's 8-3. They've been playing pretty solid football, but they're not really dominating teams. So like your overall thoughts on the Bears, where they're at. They don't, regardless of how good they end up being, this year has been a big success in year one under Big Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Ben Johnson, this is all you could have asked for. I'm just curious on your thoughts.
I think they are going to have a chance to be competitive and really in a playoff game because they have enough weapons offensively. And if they are able to be opportunistic defensively, if I'm not mistaken, they lead the league in forced turnovers. Yeah, they have 24 takeaways this year. That leads the league. And they're 6-1 in one-score games.
23 takeaways.
23.
Well, just Jaden Daniels, that was a giveaway.
Oh, okay.
So,
not a takeaway, just a giveaway, sure. They're 6-1, the one-score games. I think for the people that are saying, "Oh, they're frauds," We'll figure that out. They have to play the Eagles and the Packers twice and the Lions. They have really tough games down the stretch, and so if they're frauds, we'll know come the postseason. But if they handle their business in those games, they very well could be Super Bowl contenders going forward. I think they are right there in the middle. I think they're actually going to be competitive in a few of these games. I think they'll do enough offensively with their defense, considering the quarterback play that they're going to play in playing Jalen Hurts, who doesn't turn the ball over, but with that offense, you could struggle. Jordan Love will struggle with turnovers, and I'm really curious to see how the Green Bay Chicago games go. Brock Purdy apparently has thrown 3 picks already in Monday Night Football, so he very well could struggle. And Jared Goff is he's no saint. He's not perfect by any means.
yeah.
I think they're going to be really competitive in a lot of these games. I think they'll go probably 500 the rest of the way. and lose the division to the Packers, but I think they'll be in the postseason and they've got a chance to win a playoff game. But right now, I'd say their ceiling is the divisional round. I don't see this team winning 2 in the postseason, especially 2 on the road.
I think that's fair. We knew this team would have growing pains, and so I'm not surprised it hasn't looked perfect yet. But you have to love what you've seen so far. Mont in the chat is asking where Sanders is. He's currently working at the basketball game that we are losing to New Orleans. New Orleans Privateers are currently up 7 in Stark Vegas against our Bulldogs, which is not what you want to see at all. There's time though. There's still time. So we move on to our next game.
Yeah, let's do it.
Boy, oh boy, did the Kansas City Chiefs absolutely need a win yesterday. And they got it in overtime. They managed to kind of outlast the Colts at home. They went 23-20. Not the best offensive day from either team. Both teams were kind of slowed down. Especially the Chiefs struggled to find the end zone despite moving the ball pretty well. But even with that, they win, and that's all that mattered for them yesterday. It didn't matter how terrible they looked. They just needed another notch in the win column, and they got that. Thoughts on this game, JP?
I think for me the biggest one, and this is how I felt immediately after the game, still really, really bad. I feel that considering how the media has responded today and how Vegas has responded today, how the public has responded today. What occurred yesterday in Kansas City at GEHA Field in Arrowhead is not sustainable. And I'll get into why that is at a larger point to that in just a second. But I do want to give Kansas City credit. They won what was a playoff game. They played it like a playoff game. It was announced and presented like a playoff game by CBS. It felt that way in the crowd. It felt that way with the pressure of the moment. You have to give them a ton of credit for shutting down Jonathan Taylor. Hindsight's 2020, but now thinking about it, considering what they did to Saquon last year in the Super Bowl, it's not surprising that they were able to do that. They forced Daniel Jones to beat him. Daniel Jones started 10 for 11, and he was beating them. He had them in the lead. He finishes 19 for 31, so 9 for 20 after starting 10 for 11. Jonathan Taylor, 16 carries for just 58 yards. A ton of credit to Chris Jones, Bulldog legend. He was absolutely dominant in this game, getting after the quarterback. All of that being said, though, I know they made a lot of critical plays, and they finally got that monkey off their back with the one-score game this year. They're now 1-5 in said games. They played with true desperation and won a game in overtime against Daniel Jones at home. Am I supposed to be moved by that? The run game worked on paper. I wouldn't even say it worked on paper. It worked visually. Do you think Kareem Hunt had a good day yesterday?
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, 104 yards. He had 30 carries.
Bell cow.
30 carries for 104 yards, just over 3 yards per carry. Indianapolis compared to Kansas City, this is what it was. Kansas City had 33 first downs to Indianapolis's 10. They had 91 plays to Indy's 50, 346 passing yards to Indy's 181, 148 on the ground to Indy's 74. They had the ball for 42 minutes, Indy 25. They won the penalty battle. Shocker. 7 penalties for 57 yards. Indy had 11 for 83. They were better on third down. They were perfect on fourth down. On top of that, they were at home at Arrowhead. I tell you all of that, and I didn't tell you the score. You would have thought Kansas City blew them out by 25-30. They won in overtime by 3. I give them credit for the way that they shut down Indy, especially in the fourth quarter. The last 4 drives for Indianapolis were 3 and outs. But all of those advantages, the 33 first downs to 10, it goes to overtime against the Colts at home. This is not sustainable. What has happened today in the media, but what has also happened in the public, in the Vegas, these are things that have been said, things that have occurred. Chris Broussard said, what they showed us is that they are championship mettle. Nick Wright said, Come at the king, you best not miss. Vegas has Kansas City with the third best odds to win the Super Bowl. It is week 12. We just finished week 12. They played a playoff game in week 12. That means you're going to tell me that they're going to play and win 10 more playoff games in a row? What are we talking about? That we are saying they have the third best odds to win the Super Bowl. They are the 10 seed in the AFC right now. They are the 10 seed of the season ended today. They are a game behind 3, 7, and 4 teams. They don't have a head-to-head win over all 3 of those 7 and 4 teams. That means they are 2 games back of making the wild card, which would then mean they have to go on the road 3 straight times. Look, I'll go ahead and tell you right now, and this is the part that Sanders needs to clip later on. If Kansas City wins the Super Bowl, I will wear Old Piss gear.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand the context, I am a huge Mississippi State Bulldog. I'm a Mississippi State student.
You have a Bulldog on your chest right now.
I say Old Piss. I say the School of North instead of their actual name every single time that I can. I will never wear that color and that logo till the day I die. But if Kansas City wins the Super Bowl, I will wear it for 3 straight shows here on Technical Foul. It's a gross overreaction from everybody. Credit to them for winning the game. But given everything that happened, for them to just now be their back, they're 6-5, and nothing is guaranteed going forward. They still have to play a red-hot Dallas Cowboys team. They still have to play the best defense in football and the Houston Texans. They have to play a Chargers team that destroyed them for the most part in week 1.
Yeah.
They have to play the Broncos again, this time in Arrowhead. They have 2 good games against the Titans and Raiders, but it's any given Sunday. Who knows what happens in those 2 games? And on top of all that, if they are to win out, they're a wild card team. They play 3 straight games on the road, and then they still have to win the Super Bowl. It's unsustainable. I'm glad that they got the win. No, I'm not glad. I wish they lost, of course.
Yeah.
Everyone feels that way. 31 teams, fan bases were cheering for the Indianapolis Colts yesterday, of course. But it's way too early to say that they're back. They deserve to be the 3rd odds favorite to win the Super Bowl. They barely survived destroying Indianapolis on paper in overtime, in large part because they were able to force Indianapolis to 4 straight 3-and-outs to end that game.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Also, you won an overtime against the Colts, who are they're 8-3 now. But the Colts past 3 weeks, you lost to the Steelers, overtime against the Falcons. Now you lose overtime against the Chiefs. So it's not really like the Colts are just flying high right now either. I think that's a very good point. The thing that got me for the Chiefs and this game against the Colts was a perfect encapsulation of it, I guess. We already mentioned it, but they couldn't score in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
And they're about league average in red zone touchdown percentage, just under 60%. And think about their big games. This game, they did end up winning it. But Mahomes throws that pick in Jacksonville. That really is the backbreaker.
Yep.
The pick against the Eagles in the red zone, that's a backbreaker. They've really struggled, I think, because their run game is just not very good. They have struggled to punch the ball in when they're down there in the red zone. And that makes it really tough to be a prolific offense when you're consistently settling for 3 or you're turning the ball over because your only option is to try and make tight window throws down in the red zone. It's really hurt, and it's just not what we're used to seeing from the Chiefs at all.
If they're the wild card team, we can say that, they've made this run before. They've won the road games that they've had to, and a year where they won 2 road games at Buffalo and in Baltimore. But this year they're 1-4 on the road. They lose because of 4 penalties and a terrible play from Mahomes against Jacksonville. They lose to Denver because they can't stop Bo Nix in the clutch, and Mahomes starts again, another terrible pick. They lose to Buffalo on the road, and then the Chargers game was technically a neutral site, but also technically a road game to start the year. They're going to have a road game on Thanksgiving against Dallas. I'll go ahead and spoil the next show for you. I'm picking Dallas to win that game.
Sure.
I think Dallas will come out guns blazing against Kansas City, but they're gonna have to do this on the road. I know that yesterday was really impactful, and it really felt like once the game kind of turned a little bit, we got to that second half that the air got really thin and the crowd got really loud. They impacted the game a ton, but you're not going to have the benefit of Arrowhead in the postseason, more than likely, unless the teams above you just falter in their first round games. And so they don't have that advantage anymore. Now, they've done it before. Mahomes is 2-0 in the playoffs on the road, but this year they've been really bad, and they've lost kind of inexplicably every time they've been on the road. Nothing's guaranteed for them, especially with it being on the road. I hate. We need to pump the brakes. I'll show you how much we need to pump the brakes with the pyramid here in a second. But credit to them for winning a game. Now they got to win 10 more playoff games in a row. Yeah, good luck.
Understood. I don't have anything else to add if we want to move on.
No.
The last game that we are going to recap. Boy, what a doozy. Not really in the way you may think in terms of, oh, wow, this was a close game. Punches were traded. There were no punches traded. The Rams just punched the Buccaneers over and over and over again. Baker Mayfield leaves the game at halftime due to injury. Was clearly playing hurt even before that. He throws 2 interceptions. That the Rams are getting whatever they want offensively. Teddy Bridgewater ends up coming into the game in the second half and doesn't help it at all. There's still no offensive production. The injuries still slowing down that Buccaneers offense. And the Rams end up winning 34-7, just an absolute blowout on Sunday Night Football. Thoughts on this game?
Sad showing for Tampa Bay, especially defensively. They give up 31 points in that first half. So even like when Baker ends up getting hurt and doesn't play the second half, it's not like it was, then Los Angeles put it on us. It was 31-7. It was over. For Baker, it seems like best case scenario. We're looking at an AC joint sprain, and that means he could take pain injection shots and potentially play this following week. Worst case scenario, he has some kind of stinger problem, which is kind of unexpected because he came out in a sling. You don't usually come out in a sling when you have a stinger. But he would miss maybe a couple weeks. All that being said, Tampa Bay's lost 3 in a row. They have given up 34 points to the Rams. They have given up 44 points to the Buffalo Bills and 28 points to the New England Patriots. They are getting dominated offensively by the opposing team. And it is it's going to be a problem going forward for them if they can't find some more help defensively, because what they relied on very early on in the year was they were so prolific offensively that they were able to just outscore teams. Seattle, they outscore them 38-35. They were prolific enough offensively that when it got to the clutch moments, they were clutch. They ended up going for the game-winning drive. They ended up winning huge games over Atlanta and over the Houston Texans on the road to start the year. They don't have that offensive consistency anymore, and a large part is because they don't have any run game without Bucky Irving. But if they can't figure out what's going on and solve it over these next few weeks, especially with this weak schedule to end this season, they are looking at, one, potentially losing the division to the Carolina Panthers, which would be catastrophic, and two, being a first-round exit in the postseason, getting to play a really tough Seattle or really tough Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's been a brutal stretch for them. My biggest takeaway, which it hurts me to have to say this, but as someone that had questions about that Rams secondary early on in the season, the emergence of Emmanuel Forbes as a legit corner, congrats. Hurts my soul as a Commanders fan. But not just him, Cam Curl back there at safety, another former Commander that I wished we had re-signed. I did like him, and I thought he played well when he was in Washington. Has continued to be very good back there as well. Just the emergence of Emmanuel Forbes as a shutdown corner. I mean, going up against Egbuka, and the week before he guarded JSN a ton. Like those are tough matchups, and he's playing very confident right now. He's handling it with flying colors, and then unlocks another element of this team. Because yeah, we knew the passing attack was going to be very good. You had Matthew Stafford, Puka, and Devontae Adams. Like, what more do you need? The running game's going to be pretty good. Kyron Williams, that offensive line, Blake Corum, like they're going to do enough to not be a negative. And then that front seven, led by Jared Verse, like they're going to get the job done. So now it's like, oh, they don't even really have a weakness. That's just a huge development when it comes to their Super Bowl aspirations.
Yeah, they're just so tough to stop offensively. They don't even run the ball well in this game, but they are just able to dial up easy completions, and then they are able to complete the tough ones because Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua are so good at that. Their tight end play has been terrific as well, with especially with running their 13 personnel. They run the most in the league, and so they're able to create very favorable running situations and then play action off of that a ton. All three tight ends have catches in this game, and another really impressive performance building off of performances week after week. They haven't lost since they played the 49ers and Mac Jones on Thursday Night Football. And I don't think they're going to lose for a couple weeks either. They play at Carolina and not Arizona the next 2 weeks. They look really, really tough to beat. And I think we talked about it last week, but the fact that coming into the season, we were curious if Matthew Stafford would even play.
Yeah, the back issue.
With
That's crazy to think about.
That's a great point. The epidural, and he gets essentially the painkiller, and now he is 2,800 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 2 picks. Right now he's on pace for 4,300 yards, 46 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. That is historically great.
Yeah.
It's for a 66% completion percentage and 113 passer rating. He will be the MVP if that happens. It's kind of a no-brainer. At this point, he is the favorite to be the MVP as well, and he's rightfully so. Second best record in the league, only to the New England Patriots, and he is 30-2, which is diabolical.
Yeah,
you don't see those kinds of numbers. We've really only seen that from Aaron Rodgers in the past.
Is the audio bad? That's tough if true. Where's Pat? He currently is working the basketball game that we are losing. That is where he is.
Explain what's happening with the audio. We can't. I couldn't tell you so. We're showing feedback there.
At this point, we're continuing on. We're close to done.
Absolutely.
So if the audio is bad for this episode, the audio is bad, and we'll fix it for our second half of the doubleheader. But that is good to know, Abby. Thank you.
In a tunnel. That's cool.
That's fantastic.
That's fine.
Glitchy and mic not working.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, hold on real quick.
It's tough. If that's the case, I checked it right when we started, and I was 75. So I had that trouble in our testing period.
I just need one of us to say something.
I will start talking here in a second.
Oh yeah, it sounds terrible. Terrible.
Is every word being picked up at least?
We're getting every word.
No, that's fine. Just not our usual quality.
Something to figure out for second show.
Yeah, I could tell you why that.
Do you want to try and figure out pre-pyramid?
Sure.
Let me. I'm gonna pretend like I know it all. All the ins and outs.
So we change 0 settings from one show to the other, and then something happens. I guess. I mean, we're getting feedback, so I'm confused.
Everything plug in.
We can try to angel turn it on.
I'm good with that. They're getting a good view right now.
Hello.
Any better? Any better?
Yes, those in the chat, please let us know.
I'm saying a prayer that it's fixed. No, I'm not really hopeful because we didn't actually change anything. But also, we didn't change anything in the first place.
Also true.
I guess I can pull it up and I can listen to what's going on.
It's the same according to those in the chat.
Wow. All right. What?
Yeah, that does sound the same.
You guys sound the same.
Huh. I mean, I don't understand what you're supposed to do when you don't touch anything and then come back and it's changed.
Yeah, I wonder if the computer is just picking up audio.
Oh, that might be the case.
Like I think we're hearing ourselves
That
as
is 100% the case.
but why? Like what?
Can we change what this is?
Can you go hit the settings button beside it?
Does it have to be a source? Let me check the settings. Good point.
That doesn't look very helpful.
Yeah, it doesn't. We should Josh Pepper just did an 1-3 to tie the game. 45 seconds left. Device default. That.
Wait. Was it not plugged in?
Yeah, I don't know how it got unplugged.
Oh,
But it was unplugged. But we're back now. The mics do normally connect to Sanders' computer, and I had connected them earlier, and then I looked down there, and the USB's just laying on the floor next to it. So that's on me, team. A strike for the backup production guy.
we've been there before.
Ah, that sucks. That's a mood killer. Thanks, Abby.
At least we got the audio. Helps with keeping the computer open. Had the computer been closed, I think it would have been I think it would have been worse, a lot worse.
That's a good point.
Meanwhile, Josh Hobart at the free throw line takes the lead for the Dogs,
Massive.
which is unbelievable. 6-7.
I'm very behind on my little. There we go.
And we are one stop away from potentially avoiding the. Thank you, Whitehead. I appreciate that. We spent a fair amount of money on these mics, so I'd hope we sound fine.
Yeah, it's crazy how much better you sound when you actually use them, too.
Great defensive play by Jabari McGee, and then a great play by our game clock operator, not stopping the clock until a second had passed after the ball was already out of bounds. We just wasted an extra second there. Hopefully that doesn't bite us with New Orleans scoring. They added the second back. Tough beat. Game clock operator tried to give us that home field advantage. New Orleans takes a timeout. Again, we have not watched a single second of this game, and you guys have. So those in the chat that are here, go ahead and tell us the synopsis of this game. I know Jack has watched it through Gamecast, but that's about all the information we have right now.
Based on what I've seen through Gamecast, Hubbard started off very cold. I think he missed his first 7 3-pointers, some turnover issues. You are now tied 38-38 in rebounds against a New Orleans team that I'd imagine is not a good sign. And let's just see.
13 for 23 from the free throw line.
That's
are the
really
Mississippi
bad.
State Bulldogs.
That's the difference.
Terrible.
And then you've shot 28% from deep, and they've shot 36% from deep.
Yeah.
That'll do it. But hopefully you can just, get a win, and we can move on from there.
Yeah, not to throw any slight at our viewers in the chat, but this is a slight to the community. This is why we need people in here. This is why we need people donating in the chat. It is because things like this are very fixable, but we can't do it without you guys. So it is a statement to how much you guys mean to this program.
And therefore, we thank Abby Brooks and Joshua Whitehead for their contributions. I need his play to run, man.
30.7, New Orleans comes out of the timeout, and this is where coaches get paid the big bucks. What is your slob out of the timeout, the sideline out of bounds?
Do we think the New Orleans coach is getting paid the big bucks?
Pin down screen, isolation, potential goaltend. But a foul is called on Jamarian Davis-Fleming, and they may review it for a goaltend, which is extremely impactful because then it would be an N1, and New Orleans is guaranteed the lead. At this moment, they're going to the foul line to shoot 2. What is JDF supposed to do there? He was straight up.
He agrees with you.
And he did just say, I was straight up. He fully agrees. I guess they're not going to review goaltend.
Well, that's big.
Massive.
Do you think this guy's ice in his veins?
They
I'm
didn't
ahead,
show his
so
free throw
I'm
percentage.
gonna move off of that.
Sure.
Do you think he makes or misses this one?
I think he made it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just butter.
Timeout. Chris Jans. Feels a little early for the timeout.
That the last one?
It is the last one.
Wow.
Looks like he's always played this way, though. He's never... Oh, New Orleans called their final timeout. As they should.
They wanted to get ready for the defense.
Chris Jans has never been one to call a timeout late in the game. He's always let the offense play out. So maybe he'll have a play drawn up in this TO.
Probably.
But I would imagine it may just end up being a go with the flow kind of thing, and they have one offensive set they normally run, and they go to it. That's for the most part has been what they've done.
I mean, Hubbard's heated up down the stretch, so you probably just let him cook, I would say. Hope he can find a shot
The
against New Orleans.
ramifications on this game cannot be
This is very well quad 4.
understated.
This is very well quad 4 loss.
And winning by 1 point versus losing by 1 point
Makes all the difference.
will determine whether or not we make the tournament, more than likely as an at-large at this moment. That is the amount of potential impact on this game.
LeBron James at the free throw line.
Makes the second. 68-67. Season on the line in Game 6.
That's glaring. Let's put the free throw stat away. Blow by.
You physically cannot call the first foul and not call that one. That is actually diabolical. We get lucky that he was out of bounds when he gets the rebound. Now you have a baseline out of bounds, a blob, to determine your season. Do you call one that you've called for most of the game? No. Looks like a timeout from Chris Jans.
This is riveting stuff.
How is JDF? How is he called for a foul and that's not a foul? When Jabari McGee has fully beat his guy off the dribble and the other guy has to come flying in on the help defense and jumps through the air to defend the shot. I need a replay on that.
I think they're strategically not showing you one.
I'm
This is
I'm
SEC Network,
flabbergasted.
so they would want to show you again.
I'm flabbergasted.
I didn't really get a good look at it first time, and they have just actually not shown a replay. So this is one shining moment. Quad 4 edition.
Yeah. Would not be the first time State has lost to a Quad 4 opponent. Chris Jans did it in his first year with the Mississippi State. We lost to Southern early in the season and yet still somehow made the tournament, but we had to do a lot of work.
And
just to make
you
it.
were a last 4 team in.
Last four
so.
in because of that. So it's not over, but it would change a lot. And with the white guy on the floor, I feel like we gotta take advantage of that matchup if he's going to.
He's been allowed to end up from 3. So
confusion. On
do you think
who
you're going
had
to try and run
Sean
something
Jones.
underneath, or
I think we're running America's play. Yep, double screen for Hubbard. McGee went away from it.
oh, you just had your chance to go up?
Sean Jones
Foul?
driving layup. What a foul call.
Do we think Sean Jones can clutch at the free throw line?
He'll go 1 for 2.
Okay,
We're going to overtime.
you've seen the script.
Yeah, they don't have a timeout, so they're not going to. Well, they can advance it, and they won't anyway. We're going to OT. But if Sean Jones makes both, we win.
Great analysis.
So Sean Jones, who's been the hero for pretty much most of the season, short on the first.
Just a little harder, buddy.
Bring in the big man. I agree, Jans. Bring in Ballard for a potential offensive rebound. You have to foul immediately. If you miss and they get the
Yeah.
rebound, then you have to hope they don't make both, and you have to they foul up 3. This has to go in. Butter.
Attaboy, Sean.
Great screen.
No, I don't know what you're trying to
So,
argue, buddy.
no, not even close.
Shall we get to the graveyard? With
Yeah,
that-
we can get
with that
to the
being said,
graveyard
overtime against
Um,
New Orleans, man.
as State is forced. Yeah, OT, and everyone's left the chat because the content, I guess, got boring.
Yeah, we just watched.
They were probably just watching this game instead. Unbelievable. The Sanders will be just 10 to 15 minutes later now, but we also delayed the show as well. We will now go with better mic quality.
Yeah, into the most important segment of the NFL show.
Absolutely. We will start with the graveyard, and this week there are no.
I'm telling you,
Hey.
it lies sometimes.
Hey, Abby. Yeah, it does. It does lie sometimes. We have 0 viewers. It says, but this is a lie. We have at least 1 viewer. We will go to the graveyard. Graveyard, nothing has changed. All the teams are the same. Cincinnati and Atlanta were the most recent ones to join the graveyard, and they stay there. Atlanta barely pulled out a win over the New Orleans Saints, also a graveyard team. And then Cincinnati could not pull off the upset over the New England Patriots. And so those 2 teams will stay in the graveyard. Every team will stay in the graveyard for the rest of the season. I think the only worry I had had Cincinnati won this weekend and then Joe Burrow comes back Thursday night and they beat the Ravens, then we're kind of getting into a dire situation. Not a dire situation, a scary situation on topic with the graveyard there
100%.
of do the Bengals need to come out of the graveyard because they would make sense with Joe Burrow to be potentially part of the power rankings. But with that loss and being 3-8, I'm going to keep them in the graveyard going forward. And now we'll move to the teams left off. And what is the score at halftime for the Monday Night Football game?
It's 10-3.
Okay, well then
We just out of halftime. Panthers have the ball.
Panthers can't even complain. I'll go ahead and predict they don't pull off the win over the San Francisco 49ers in the second half on the road. So give me Carolina to stay off of the teams left off, and then also joining teams left off, and now officially on graveyard watch, 9. And the Minnesota Vikings failed to put up 9 points this weekend, failed to throw for 100 yards, which that is not the first time he's done that this season, which is not good. Something I've complained about with Bryce Young, but 2 elite quarterbacks in college struggling in the NFL, Bryce Young at Alabama and J.J. McCarthy at Michigan, and they join the teams left off. The Minnesota Vikings do this week after being on the pyramid last week. Now we will go to Tier 6, which is 4 teams and not the full 6. Joining down at Tier 6, dropping 2 tiers fully, are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with their performance against the Los Angeles Rams. And really, the last 3 weeks, they have gone from they were the number one team. They were top of the pyramid for, I believe, 2 weeks in a row, and now they have fallen all the way to the bottom of the pyramid. Look, Seattle's done the same, where they've gone from the bottom to the top, and so teams will move on this pyramid as the weeks go on. Tampa Bay is now down at the bottom at 6-5, joining the 49ers, the Jaguars, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is your Tier 6. For Tier 5, we have one movement, and it's Dallas. Dallas has moved up to Tier 5 with their win over Philly, and they will play the Kansas City Chiefs this coming weekend, or not this coming Thanksgiving on Thursday, as they always do. They join the Houston Texans, the Chargers, the Bears, and the Lions. The Lions, I think, proved to me that they are properly power ranked with how that game against the New York Giants went. They could not get a stop defensively, and they did just enough offensively. Had to have some elite plays from Jahmyr Gibbs to survive. Chicago is 6-1. Some are calling them frauds. I think they're properly power rated and have been. They will prove whether or not they're frauds going forward with really tough games against the Packers twice and the Eagles. Chargers run a bye, so you don't move. Dallas, of course, is rejoined. And then Houston was properly power rated last week, which you wouldn't believe, but Houston was one of my best bets. I had them as only 1.5-point underdogs against the Buffalo Bills, and they, of course, covered that and ended up winning that game as well by 3. Houston stays where they're at on Tier 5, and these teams stay where they're at on Tier 5 because I don't know how to move any of these teams above these 4 teams that are here on Tier 4, and that is the Indianapolis Colts, who forced overtime with the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, ended up losing. Green Bay moves up to Tier 4 with their defensive performances. They continue to rise in power rankings. I almost made the argument for them raising to Tier 3. Denver was on a bye, and then I'm going to drop Kansas City in a loss.
In a win.
Or in a win, I should say, yes. But a loss on the pyramid, in my eyes. They covered... Actually, that's a lie. They didn't cover the spread last week. They were, according to the pyramid, 4.5-point favorites. They only win by 3, and so that would be one reason to lead to them dropping. But also, what happened yesterday on Sunday is just not sustainable going forward, and I refuse to believe that they can rattle off 10 straight playoff wins going forward, which is what they're going to need to do to win the Super Bowl. I have them dropping on the power rankings because I think they're right there dead even with Indianapolis. They are the same rating, and so Kansas City would be favored by 2.5 at home because that's how home field advantage works in the NFL. They won by 3. Seems pretty accurate, and that's in a game where they outgained Indianapolis both through the air and on the ground, had 33 first downs to 10. They're going to drop to Tier 4 because I think they proved that they are on the same ranking as the Indianapolis Colts. But they're also dropping because Baltimore is rising to Tier 3. And with their defensive performances that they're putting together, again, I think I've brought up this kind of point. This might be the 4th time this year. If the problem right now with your team is that your offense with a 2-time MVP and one of the best running backs in NFL history aren't putting up points, if that's your problem, then I think it's going to work itself out as we go down the weeks. And because of that, I think Baltimore deserves every right to be right here on Tier 3 once again with the way that they're playing defensively. It's, if I'm not mistaken, 5 straight games where the opponent is 20 points or less, which is a really big statement because at the beginning of the year that was not the case with Houston and Buffalo and Kansas City. Excuse me, they have turned it around defensively, and they deserve to jump up to Tier 3. Dropping down to Tier 3 is sadly Abby's Philadelphia Eagles with their performance this weekend. There's only one other team in the NFL with more scoreless halves this year. Any guesses?
The Browns.
The Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Philly also leads the league in 3-and-out percentage, which is it's a roughly around 44% of their drives are 3-and-out.
Holy Schubert.
They lead the league. The only team that's second to them is the Cleveland Browns at roughly 42% with all their quarterback troubles. Philly has been really bad offensively for half a game and great offensively for the other half. Defensively, it's been hit or miss. Had great weeks and then gave up 24 straight to the Dallas Cowboys. Philly drops down to Tier 3. Buffalo, I'm going to keep where they're at because I got the result that I expected. It was one of my best bets. I don't expect them to give up 10 sacks again. I think they'll regroup and be fine, and that's the best defense in football, and yet they were right there down to the wire in that game, even with Josh Allen turning the ball over. They've got to protect the football. That's the big thing. The 4 losses, Josh Allen has 2 turnovers in each of those 4 games. New England jumps up to Tier 2, joining the Seattle Seahawks. They have 10 wins, so the first team to 10 wins this year. They've been really, really impressive, and I understand a pushback very easily. It's one I've had, is they have not played anybody. That'll work itself out because they play in 3 weeks and 4 weeks, the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens, both those games against 2 of the best quarterbacks in the AFC. They will figure out whether or not they're a true playoff contender going forward. And so that'll work itself out. It's the same thing with Chicago. You can call them fraudulent right now. You can feel that way. It'll work itself out like it is right now with the Indianapolis Colts. It'll work itself out. I do think that they are Tier 2 because they show a winning pedigree. They play really well defensively. Yep. They're the best rush defense in football. Defense wins championships. Mike Vrabel is preaching that. And Drake May is second to Matthew Stafford, who's 30 touchdowns, 2 picks, in MVP voting. Or MVP odds, I should say. He is having a terrific, terrific season. Had a pick 6 on Sunday, but after that responded really, really well. New England's Tier 2 with the Seattle Seahawks, who were only Tier 2 because the team that beat them last week, the Los Angeles Rams, had another great, impressive week, and they stay at Tier 1. And that is the pyramid after Week 12 going into Week 13. Any questions, Jack? I can also talk about some of the spreads coming up this week as well.
Any questions? No, I like the pyramid a good bit. Yeah, I don't really have any big concerns or anything like that. I do want to point out to both Lucy and Abby in the chat, this is show 1 of 2, so just because we don't have much left in this show, we're nowhere close to leaving the studio, so I hate to break that to y'all. I'm fine with it. I don't see anything bad.
Yep. For reference, going forward this week, a few of the spreads. Now that we're doing spreads with the pyramid, Thanksgiving, I have 2. We have Green Bay, Detroit. Detroit is a 2.5-point favorite. I have Detroit favored by just 1.5 points. Half of a point. So a 2-point difference there. The biggest shocker, though, on Thanksgiving, because of this pyramid, I have Dallas as a favorite this weekend. Kansas City's favored by 3. That'll end up being one of my best bets in the next show later this evening. And we will talk about more of those in the best bet segment in terms of spreads. But that is the pyramid for Week 13. We are now just capping off, to answer those in the chat, our NFL show. And now we will wait for Saunders as the Bulldogs are still in overtime against the New Orleans. What was their name again?
The Privateers.
The Privateers. Not the New Orleans Pelicans. If it was the Pelicans, actually we'd get blown out. Derek Queen is playing really, really well. And it's not being talked about enough. And also with Jeremiah Fears and Jordan Poole. Good luck to the state team. But it's the Privateers instead. And the Privateers have just cut it to 1 with a minute left in Starkville. State has survived. I believe they came back from,
they were down 10 with like 4 something left.
10 with 4 minutes left, and I think the lead was probably as big as 15. Ali with the land. He's had great minutes since Jan started playing him, not playing him opening night, and then started playing him. Now he's in your closing 5.
No Epps tonight. I will say I was looking at minutes earlier, so I don't really know if it's just still his injury or whatever he's working back from. That's a hoist.
Huge rebound. That's a foul.
Did I give it to him?
Shocking.
Wow.
Sean Jones did enough, I guess.
Shout out Sean Jones, man.
Dogs lead by 3 with 35 seconds left.
We would have timed it pretty much perfect.
Yes.
Have no overtime.
Yeah, Saunders would be on his way, but instead he is still recording. Yep, America's play on the blob works perfectly. Of course he banks
The
it in.
bank in 3 to tie it.
That makes sense.
No way.
He's talking mad props, and we're looking at potentially a second overtime.
I don't even care at this point, to be honest. I mean, I need State to end it here, but
We do have a timeout. Jans never calls one. You're going to try to run a little rub-off to get Hubbard the ball.
yeah, I mean, you'll beat him off the dribble really well down the stretch.
Ali just banked in a 3 for the win. That was not... Hubbard waited way too long to go get into the action,
So he just had to go.
and so he just went off the screen, and Ali banks it in. 2 banked-in 3s in a row.
That's cinema.
And the
That's
Dogs...
college basketball right there.
Hubbard is waiting way too long. First of all, illegal screen for the second game in a row in the late stretches.
I think it
for
just
Hubbard.
helps that their own players ran into each other.
It's an illegal screen. Terrible call.
I mean, I don't disagree. I'm just saying I feel like it's easier to have it not called when
Why is T. Barlett laughing right now? This is no joking matter. We need to lock in.
maybe he's laughing from relief. Like, I can't
No.
believe that just happened.
I don't know. He should be playing right now, but he came in too fat. That's the reason he's not playing right now.
That's just I don't know how to handle that as a college athlete or like a professional athlete. Like, I want to feel bad for the guy, but it's also just completely your fault. So, what are you doing?
We need him too. JDF, true freshman, is having to play huge minutes. That is less than ideal. Hey, if they pull this out, a win is a win is a win.
100%.
Unbelievable. Maybe it changes everything for this team. It won't.
It may help some.
Could prevent the inevitable.
Yeah.
Or it could just be a pushback of the inevitable. A delay of the inevitable.
Imagine they hit this to tie it.
Sanders live on camera. Can't see him, but he would be right there in that corner next to the bench.
So talking about earlier, I needed my fantasy matchup. I needed a big day from Bryce. Well, he has .42 fantasy points. Thankfully, though, Brock Purdy only has 3.76, so
Yeah.
I'm Jay chillin'. Up 8 currently.
Well, you can never take those percentages really for like the truth, because they'll say 99% and like one catch and a touchdown late in the fourth of a primetime game can make the difference.
Yeah, that should not be 98%.
Yeah.
Only up 8. That makes no sense.
Not with still a quarter and a half in that game to go.
Correct. Oh, that's devastating. Just drilled my knee on the coffee
Worst
table.
part about college basketball, I hear that the ball doesn't advance.
Game.
Beautiful. Ali defensive stop too.
They called a foul.
No way.
We just should have let that go.
Oh, and they fouled Hubbard.
Well, yeah. But I'm just like, as a ref,
Fine with me.
we just got a stat pad.
Yeah, let's get Hubbard to. I assume he'd have 30 at this point now.
Nah, he has like 21, I think. 28. So this would give him a 30 if it's both of these.
Okay.
Wow.
Knock him down. Again, with college basketball, which it's something I dislike, but I guess it makes sense. Wins and losses are graded on paper, Not on paper, no. They're graded like a golf scorecard, meaning you can play a hole a really wacky way, but if you still end up making a birdie, no one will ever tell.
Yeah.
No one will ever know.
This goes in as a win.
There are no pictures on the scorecard. And, of course, Hubbard misses the free throw, so he can't get to his 30-point game. And the free throw troubles continue. Now it will require a impossibility. A phantom push of air off of the rebound.
A bicycle kick?
94 feet.
I mean, I think that no joke be your best option.
Yeah.
A bicycle kick off the it
Wouldn't
misses.
that be a kickball?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Dang it. A bicycle knee? 90
That would not
feet?
be a kickball. That's fine.
There
What
it
a
is.
win for the Dogs. Dogs win again.
Never a doubt. Well, I say we wrap up this live show and
Yep.
in the recording, and we can just do a little reset to our next show. Sandra will probably be in about half an hour, a little longer probably, but
Yeah, we'll be back with you guys very soon.
thanks for tuning in. For the NFL content, both high sound and low sound quality.
Yeah.
And then some Mississippi State basketball sprinkled in, because I'm sure that's what y'all tuned in for
Absolutely.
and what y'all expected. But peace.
Goodbye.